Hi everyone, it's me Lindsay with EquipMeOT here today to talk about alternating pressure mattress overlays. These are a really important tool when fighting against pressure ulcers or in the process of treating pressure ulcers. So these are an important product, low cost, super easy to install, and you can find them right on Amazon. So I'm going to link to the ones I'm talking about down below, and as always, if you have questions and comments, feel free to leave those there as well. So let's talk a little bit about an alternating pressure overlay and why you would even use one. So these pressure overlays are kind of like an air mattress that sits on top of your bed. Now I have it sitting here on a double bed. Most of the time you're going to see these in use with a hospital bed. They're designed really to fit over a hospital mattress. They can handle the movement of a hospital bed just fine, and the goal of it is to provide a low pressure or alternating pressure surface for the individual laying on them. Typically somebody who's going to need this is somebody who's going to be in bed for prolonged periods of time, whether they're on bed rest for some sort of healing process, or oftentimes we see these in palliative care and hospice scenarios for comfort measure. Now this one by Lunderg is $85. Vive has a very popular one that's $75. I like this one because it has a few extra features that I think are really nice, but generally speaking, for under $100, these can make a huge difference. One of the really nice things about an alternating pressure mattress is because it automatically circulates and changes where the pressure points are on the body, it does not require the caregivers to do as much hands-on repositioning. So super valuable if that's one, inconvenient or difficult for caregivers to manage due to the time demands. Two, if that's very painful for the individual that's trying to be moved. I see that a lot with patients who are in really painful recoveries, that being repositioned can be one of the worst parts of their day. And with this type of overlay, you don't have to reposition nearly as often to make sure that they don't develop pressure sores. Okay, so how does it work? Well, I don't know if you can hear this back here, but this little pump here is where all the magic happens. So basically what this pump does is it inflates these two sets of chambers. So they're chambers that go in a line like this, and it alternates between, these chambers and these chambers. So right now, every other chamber line is super inflated, and in between them is not. So I can press right down on them. So if I was laying on this, every other row would be experiencing reduced pressure, and every 6 minutes it cycles around, so it switches. This is great because, like I said, you're not going to have consistent pressure applied to that area. So that's how this is going to work. It has settings from soft to firm, and when they say firm, they mean firm. Picture an air mattress inflated all the way to its peak inflation. That's what firm feels like. Very, very hard. So for some individuals, we call it kind of the princess in the pea scenario, where they maybe are uncomfortable with that sensation of that hard, kind of the knobs here and here. You reduce the pressure slightly. So you can drop it down from, this is in its most firm because we want it to fully inflate it, but I can simply, with this really nice and accessible slide, drop it down to medium. And what you'll probably hear, you can't hear too much because it's so quiet, but actually it makes the pump a little bit quieter when I turn it down. It'll also, you'll hear a little hissing noise. That's just a little bit of air leaving the system. You don't have a hole in it. The other thing that this particular overlay has as a feature is something called the static feature. If I wanted to, for example, discontinue that sense of the changing pressure, which, to be very clear, I don't feel very distinctly when I lay on it to try to feel that change in pressure. Most people are not going to feel it super distinctly, but for some they'll need a break from it, or while you're doing ADLs, like caregiving for, say, a bed bath or something like that, you may want to turn on what's called static mode. And when you turn on static mode, it stops that alternating pressure and allows it to just be at one pressure during that task. This could be good during transfers, so that if you're sitting at the edge, you don't have a slight change in the pressure of the mattress, it just stays one pressure. And then when you're done with that and you want to go back to the alternating, you just flip the switch. So that's really, really convenient. These pumps are often found at the foot of the bed, so they have little hangers on the back side too. See if I can show you this. That hang beautifooly off of the footrest, like this, off the end of the bed, which is really convenient for caregivers. But in my situation, it was more convenient to have it near the head of the bed, so you could potentially control it yourself as well. So that's just good to know. It's really important that anytime you're dealing with pressure sores, pressure sore prevention and management, you are having a medical provider take a look at those because they can be really difficult to heal. So even with all of this in place, definitely be consulting with your medical provider for your wound management. All right, one other cool feature about this particular one over the others on the market is it's two-sided. So the side that's up right now is got a soft covering on it called flocked, the flocked material. And you've probably seen it on air mattresses, but basically this is the non-rubberized covering so that if you're right up against it, it's not going to produce such a hot response. So if you're laying right up against the plastic side, which is available on the other side, the underside like this, if you have somebody who has a lot of issues with overheating, this flocked side can make a big difference. And most of the other ones, actually none of the other ones on the market, have the option of a flocked side. Downside to the flock side is it's a little less convenient if you're dealing with incontinence or potentially like a leaky wound that could be getting on the material. It's not nearly as wipeable. So you do have the option of flipping it to the water resistant plastic side as well. And just so you know, you can always put a thin fitted sheet over this. You don't want to go with a thick fitted sheet or it could potentially impact the effectiveness of the alternating pressure. So you can use either side. Other thing I like about the flocked side is if you have somebody who tends to slide down in bed, which does happen often if they need to be at the elevated position, this flocked material is a little bit grippier. So it tends to hold people in their position a little bit better and longer. So again, this is a great alternative to things that are significantly pricier like low air loss mattress systems, which can run in the thousands of dollars. This can be a great starting point if you're dealing with wounds or trying to prevent them. And like I said, for under $100, this is a great solution. So if you have questions and comments on how to use systems like this, or maybe what has worked for you in the past, I would love to hear them down below. And if you need more information like this on how to stay safe and independent in your home and community, consider subscribing to EquipMeOT. Thank you.